Hear the voice of one crying in the desert. The grass withers, the flowers fade. The word of our God stands forever. Hear the voice of one crying in the desert. The grass withers, the flowers fade, but the word of our God stands forever. So surrender. If you open your eyes and turn from darkness to light, from darkness to light, you will be forgiven. You will be received.
Shalom Aleichem, and thank you for joining us on the Wall Watchmen. I'm Stephen Morgan. The intent of each week's broadcast is to focus on what's happening out beyond the walls of our comfort zone and present the news in such a way so that we do not fear, but instead are filled with hope and anticipation. We like to think of our broadcast as one that presents news with hope. Most of the time, we do random acts of journalism even when we don't try.
All right, everybody, let's bring in our guest here. He's had to endure our jabbering for a little while here, so I'm excited to get Dr. Cass Ingram in, and he's also, he said he's in the same time zone that we are. Dr. Ingram, how are you tonight?
Yeah. Where did you guys, nice to talk, where did you guys come up with all those gut bombs you were talking about?
Gut bombs?
I mean, hard liquor and Velveeta hydrogenated oil, and
yeah,
I haven't heard that language since the 70s.
I'm telling you, these guys, I just don't even know how I handle these guys.
You really do need me to stay on the line for a while.
I think so. Come in and cure us, will you, please?
Yeah. Well, that's gonna be automatic.
Automatic.
Yeah.
Good.
By diffusion. How's everybody doing?
We're great. We're great. We're actually doing very well, and very excited to have you on the show. We're very familiar with, most of us are somewhat familiar, some of us a little bit more familiar with your work and your books.
Yeah.
Let's start off right off with the website and your books.
While people are listening, they could go watch YouTube or whatever it's called. They could go to healthynewsradio.com, and they could see me in the woods hunting. And there's a little bit of discussion about, maybe Fukushima there. I don't know if I've uploaded those parts. We heard earlier from our Canadian about the Fukushima issue. We're going to talk about that too, I hope.
Okay.
But that's one thing. Now, the books, you can view the books there. But then there's that book we're going to talk about too, Rigged, about the rigging of elections. And that one's for free. It's the preliminary version. So if you want a freebie, a 350-page freebie, you can have that because it's important to get the word out. And that's on a different site, which is healthfreedom2012.com. And you go to the blog, and you've got a free book.
Right. Yeah, I jumped right to it. It came right up. It's very good. Very good.
Wow, that's a real nice website you got there.
Yeah, the guy did a really great job on making it so clear and this and that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of op-eds that I've written in there, and some of it's pretty strong stuff. So if you've got a good, strong mind, then it'll be good fuel.
Now, it has you here embracing a tree. Are you a tree hugger, Dr. Cass?
Oh, I've hugged a few trees for the sake of the camera.
Okay.
When you're out there doing those documentaries, you'll do just about anything that the cameraman tells you to do. Look, the bottom line is what we heard earlier. Our Creator has made all kinds of really interesting things. We've pretty much savaged the world, but if there's any hope for us, it's going to come from nature. That's where we have the material that can give us strength, vital force, protect us from toxicity, and help us stay healthy in a very, very bizarre time.
No,
if you think about some of the things we've been assaulted with, from vaccines to fluoride to chlorination to drugs to drug residues to bisphenols to pesticides, I mean, who wouldn't have some health problems?
But they say fluoride's good for us.
Who's they anyway?
They, yeah, that's my question.
The proverbial they. I mean,
yeah, exactly.
They that put it in our water in our counties where we live. They say it's what we need to have.
I think they means Rockefeller. I mean, it's the most ludicrous thing to put a deliberate poison that's skull and crossbones that you have to have regulation on, and to dump it in the water supply. One could argue willy-nilly about, it hardens the teeth. Well, if it's a toxin, keep it away from my water. It's very simple. And, it's a whole long story with fluoride, but, what happened back in the 30s was that the fluoride producers, your Kaiser, your Reynolds, your Alcoa, your industrial weapons manufacturers.
IG Farben.
Yeah, IG Farben, yes, was involved. They were being fined extensively because people were being poisoned by fluoride runoff, so that's why they came up with, it's pretty sick.
And that's what Hitler used too, correct?
Yeah, he did to numb them down. But basically, what I found is that really vibrant health is rare, and how I've helped people get it is through the cures in the cupboard. It's through the natural extracts. One of those, of course, is the oil of oregano, this P73 oregano oil. Another one is the whole crude herb. That one is known as Oregamax, and the juice of oregano. Those are pretty common in the marketplace, and they will make a big difference in your health if you use them regularly. I might add that since this is a Messianic hour, that the ancient biblical text, the biblical text itself, mentions in the Old Testament the use, I'm not an expert there, it mentions the use of spices, and the emphasis is on oregano.
Sure.
Hyssop is not hyssop. Hyssop is from Aesop. Aesop is from Ezov. Ezov means wild oregano. So that's for the record.
Oh, that's great. I'm glad to hear that. If it's in there, it's got to be good. That's all there is to it. So, listen, you're on your book or rigged, and Dr. Stan was talking to you about that book and election rigging. I was fascinated on how you went from oregano oil and what has happened with your trying to get it out there and how that led to that. Can you kind of enlighten us on that? I'm
not a friend of corruption and tyranny. It's just in my nature to not like that and to see people being hurt as a doctor. And so as I was trying to figure out how homeopathy got destroyed in herbal medicine, how that got wiped out at the turn of the century, about 1930, you stumble upon a world government was very active at eliminating natural medicine. And this is very important because back in the 20s, 30s, back in the medieval time, ancient Greece, the biblical time, whatever, Pharaoh, if something cured something, they said it. In medieval times, they said oil of oregano, they called it oil of origani, is a categorical cure for earaches, for bronchial congestion, for asthma, for flu, for colds, for wounds, for venomous bites, for wounds that won't heal. They called oregano a cure. And yet we can't talk about it now. So that led me to the Rockefeller family, and then that led me to their buying senators back in the turn of the century. And that led to some of the senatorial people putting vote machines in for them so they could actually rig the vote. So our rigging began about the time that the Federal Reserve was forced upon us, and when we suffered the loss of gold and silver simultaneously, they put regime candidates in power to maintain the Federal Reserve so it could never be questioned or dealt with. And that's kind of how I got to vote rigging. There was such voter suppression back in the Victorian times that there were like fist fights, and sometimes they'd have dozens and dozens of humans trying to watch the polls to avoid ballot stuffing and ballot destruction. But Rockefeller definitely paid $30,000, $40,000 a senator or whatever back in the 30s, which is a huge amount of money, to get them to work for him, to prevent us from knowing what was going on. But then that led to Rothschild, and I made a phone call to the Rothschild regime, and this was in 2007, when I saw what I thought was vote rigging against Dr. Ron Paul, who I was fascinated by back then and got behind and paid the $2,500 or whatever it was. And also, I actually got money from other people and told them to donate it to the guy. So it led me to Rothschild, who owns ES&S. ES&S, and when I called them in the Rockefeller Center there in New York, they admitted that they own the ES&S, and ES&S counts 80% of our votes. That's these machines, these gray boxes that are in Chicago and other places. Yeah.
The voting machines.
So are you saying that we shouldn't vote in this coming up election this year?
We should do it, but we should do it. We should change how we do it.
Like go back to paper?
Paper won't do us any good either, because they'll just run the paper through the electronic machines.
All right.
Here's what we have to do this year. You want to win? You believe that somebody's getting their votes stolen? Let's say you think that you're a Gingrich man and his votes are being stolen. You're a Paul person. You know his votes are stolen. Whatever you are, then you can't just vote. You have to get 2 or 3 of your friends together and go watch the precinct, like they did in the Battle of Battle of Athens in McKinn, Tennessee, when the troops got so sick of the corruption in '46 that they said, we went and fought for this, and we're getting defrauded out of our jobs and our potential and our future in our own country. So they took over the polls very simply. They just simply watched the polls. And they were going to simply check every ballot on a clipboard. But the corrupt sheriff and the corrupt local family that, benefited from false candidates, they brought 200 thugs from out of state who they lined their pockets, and they beat the troops up. This is all written up in Guns and Ammo. It's in my book as well. After they beat the troops up, the troops panicked. What the heck do we do? We've got to get our country back. So they broke into the armory and took carbines and surrounded the sheriff. This is almost like a Western, isn't it? A good Western movie.
Yeah, really.
They surrounded the sheriff, and the sheriff shot 2 of the troops. Well, there was some altercations, but nobody died. So what the troops did to force the position is they took some dynamite, lit it, and threw it on the porch. It was almost like Barney Fife or something. They threw it on the porch. They didn't try to kill anybody. They threw it on the porch. It blew the porch off the sheriff's office, and the sheriff came out shaken like Barney Fife or something, and they ran him out of town. In other words, they were trying to watch the vote. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah, sure.
And that's not being done anymore.
Yeah. No.
But do you think we can actually get away with doing that in this day and age?
Well, sure. I did it 2 days ago. I was stumping for Dr. Paul while I was doing my work, which is I committed 18 lectures and radio shows on the road from Anaheim to Chicago. And so I stopped in Missouri, gave a couple lectures, and was real close to the Kansas City-Jackson County caucus. So I grabbed my press badge and my camera, my tripod, and my photographic camera. I looked like a photographer, which I am on occasion, and I went into the caucus, and they assigned me a press badge, and I just photographed the whole thing. Well, most of it. I had to end up leaving, and I interviewed people. So I got the count of the total number of Paul people versus the Santorum versus Gingrich, whatever, versus Romney. Right in the middle of Missouri. I'm not even from that area.
Wow.
Who says we can't do it? I just walked past. You know what I did? I had all my paraphernalia. I just simply walked in. I didn't bother to ask the cop if I could go. I just walked in. I got all the way to the, and I have a legitimate press, documentary basis. And I walked all the way up. They almost let me in completely, but they didn't see something on my hand, and I said, okay, because they don't have any right to stop me anyway. So, okay, fine, I'm press. Give me my press credentials. Well, we don't have any stickers, but we'll write something up. And you know what the guy told me? Because they defrauded St. Charles, and that's being recaucused. He said, the head of the place, he said, we don't want any trouble around here. We don't want to be in the news like the last guys. Right. You don't think you can do something? This is the United States. It's the only place left. I've been saying in the last year, I've had my criticism of our people and what we haven't been very reactive. We've let everybody steal everything from us. We've committed terrible crimes in these wars. Most of us are against that anyway, but just like Vietnam. But some of us aren't enlightened. Back in the Vietnam era, I just read the newspapers. I was a 15-year-old kid or whatever, and I thought, go get them. How come we're not winning? We got to go get them. So I didn't get enlightened until years later. But my point is that we're the only people that can change the platform of this world. It has to come from the United States.
True. You're very true. You're very right. Well, hold that thought. We're going to do a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Instead of searching for all things Messianic on a secular search engine where anything could pop up, try a 100% Messianic research engine built and maintained by a Messianic that has lived the lifestyle for over 16 years. MessianicDirectory.info is a category directory of the Messianic, Jewish, Christian, and secular websites that will give your searches an edge you will find at no other search engine. Choose a category on the left-hand column, and it will take you right to websites that fit your search. Just one click, and you're there. MessianicDirectory.info also has a Messianic atmosphere about it that makes sure you're comfortable while you find what you need. Over 60 categories displaying over 300 pages that contain over 1,700 websites that help us all study, learn, live, and enjoy a Messianic lifestyle. MessianicDirectory.info, your Messianic info source. MessianicDirectory.info. Inspired Faith Radio, your radio station direct from Israel for Messianic music and teaching. Listen to inspiredfaith.org.
Dr. Ingram, it's all very, very interesting what you're talking about, and you're 100% right. I guess we are about the last have the free ability to go out there and make known whatever we want to make known. I mean, that's what we're doing here with this show, and being on the Messianic end of it from this lifestyle. There are so few of people from our faith that are actually putting out anything like that, and that's why we wanted to do this. You can go to Christian stations and many other places and hear things like this, but not from our faith. And so we understand what you're saying, and we do appreciate your inspiring us and getting us riled up as much as we almost already are. Sometimes though, as much as we hear, and I don't want to get into a place of just believing that we're so far gone with the elite of this country, the Rothschilds, and has already got it set, that there's just no way that somebody like Ron Paul or Michael Peruka or anybody like that is ever going to be elected, because they've already picked who they're they're going to make sure that gets elected by the rigging of the elections.
Well, that's right, and you're right. There's no apathy at all allowed. It's a revolution anywhere, and you would expect a revolution would lead to consequences. Even some people could be taken and hurt and killed and beat up, standing for the truth. One of my friends, when he was standing for the truth against the war, Mr. Maitland from WBAI over there, they beat him into a pulp. I had to send him quite a few supplements to try to bring him back. He was in the hospital for so long. So, in this revolution, you join in and you do it in the name of God, and you let him take care of the rest, and you don't have any fear,
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I agree, and another interesting thing you were talking to Dr. Stan about, which is really the only interview I've heard you do. I know the others have heard others, but you talked about many people that have died for the cause, that have gone and done what they're supposed to do and have paid the price for it. I mean,
well, that would be one example would be Inspector Lemmy from the Florida Department of Transportation, who in 2003 was close to breaking the case for the laundering of money by the Bush cartel. But nobody cared that much about the Bushes, let's face it. I mean, you have some starchy individuals that thought that they were on track in the Middle East, but his support wasn't that grand. And so what do? They have to get money to run an election, and so what they did was they had promissory money from overseas, that was laundered through certain countries, and some of it coming through China, some of it coming through portions of Europe, some of it even through Saudi Arabia. But that's because they have buddies in there, that want them to stay in power. And so this money comes over. And what are they going to do with it? You got to have it in the system. So they laundered it through the Florida Department of Transportation's tolls, which are cash-based. Back then they were mostly cash, before they put the new booths in. And Lemmy couldn't make the numbers work, so he started looking into this, and it led to the Bush White House. And then that led to the Mossad, and it led to Jack Abramoff, and it led to vote rigging by both Israel's, prominent politicians here and the Bush regime. So what happened was, this is clear, the Mossad, I don't know if with Bush's consent or not, hired some mobsters and paid them about $150,000. Let me just back up a little bit. There were two people. There was Gus Boulos, who was related to Abramoff, and this was related to vote fraud. They hired the mobsters to kill him. He was a multimillionaire with the Santa Cruz casino boats in Fort Lauderdale. He was gunned down, which led back to Jack Abramoff. Lemmy leads to the Mossad, but we don't have the final proof yet as to who the agents were. In the case of Gus Boulos, we know who the individual was. His name was Piotr Blas. He ordered the hit. He mentioned J.A.'s initials in the hit. And I have the email in my book from him. In the case of Inspector Lemmy, this is what happened to him. This is more closely tied to the Bushes. He told his wife that he was very close to breaking the case. And then he went down. He was found dead 2 or 3 days later in Valdosta, Georgia. He was beaten to death and hung. And they made it look like a suicide. That's what happened to him. Now, others who have been killed, very prominent individual is Mike Connell. Have you ever heard of him and how his airplane was blown up?
The name kind of sounds familiar, but I'm not familiar with this.
Okay, he was George Bush family's #1 IT man for about 15 years. He designed their websites, the Republican Party websites, and he was also involved in the elections. He was the man who put the servers in place to deal with Ohio voting. So when when it was found that the Ohio votes were coming in more for Kerry than Bush, according to Connell, under deposition, he could easily rig the votes 3 to 5% and make Bush win the swing state of Ohio. After he was deposed, he was murdered in his own airplane, which was blown up on descent. So I don't know if that shocks anybody, but...
well, I don't know that I'm becoming callous to this. I'm hearing so many things. It's shocking. Every one of the stories are always shocking, but it's amazing how we're more like deterred to thinking something else, or media puts it in a different spin. So
well, they do. And the interesting thing about these murders is that they're all associated with voting, with elections.
Right.
And so that takes us to the shenanigans we're seeing this year, which are aimed at Dr. Paul. Sure. And it also takes us to the possibility that that criminal behavior is already going on in the middle of the election. So on the hope side, if we could get enough people to prove criminality, then potentially Dr. Paul would win easily. The way it's going now, he could win, but only with an honest vote for the remaining states. I mean, maybe he could win otherwise, the delegate strategy and all that. Yeah, okay, he can win. But, I mean, to more of a cinch win, you need to stop the fraud. And
I totally.
Well, why is Dr. Paul? Obviously he probably is aware of these things, and how come he's not sounding the alarm on this? I mean, and even if he is, the media's not going to give him the time of day. They pulled all the press from his campaign, so he's not getting hardly any attention now. Is there? I know. I just don't see a lot we can do right now. Like you said, it's rigged. It's in the bag who they want. And the winner's already come out multiple occasions and said, "Hey, in my next 4 years, I'm going to take care of some things that I can't take care of now because I'm in an election year." So
well, there's a couple of things on your point. One is that it's not over yet, which is unbelievable because usually it's over by South Carolina. Now, the media is trying to make it look over, but it's not. No one has ever seen 4 people go this long. So that's one interesting thing. Now, that's against great odds. You're correct, because some people would say to you, well, I don't even know who Dr. Paul is when you campaign, if you've ever done something on the streets like I have, just to talk to people, interview. It's not uncommon where somebody says, oh, I didn't know about him. I never heard of him. Yeah, I'm going to read this. I think I'm going to vote for him. And this is in April almost, So that is a realistic concern that how could this be achieved? However, there are 3 regions here. There's the will of God, and he can do whatever he wants. We're required to take action. That's what he put us on the earth to do. Otherwise, we wouldn't have hands, mouth, ears, nose, and feet and all that. And could we, the people, make a change? I've been telling people that they rig the votes in the precincts so that if we had an actual count, we would have court-verifiable evidence that, okay, wait a minute, we have 1,000 people here that say they voted for Dr. Paul. But we didn't take the time. We watched everybody steal from us, then we went, oh no, it's going to be same again. We didn't bother to take the energy and the time to say, you know what, we're going to take action against this. We know what you're doing, and we're not going to let you get away with it, and we're in this to win. Instead, we go back to, oh my God, we can't do anything about it. Well, you can do something about it. You can actually photograph every person that walks out of the poll. That's your absolute legal right. And you know what? It's that simple. You can
what does that do for you? You take a picture. What do you do?
You could put up a video camera of everybody that walks in and out. You'd have a total count. Now listen to this. In Indiana, nobody paid attention, and they gave 144,000 extra votes in 2008 during the primaries. Nobody paid attention, so nobody could go back on it. It's too difficult once it's over. It could be done, but only in states like California where they allow an audit challenge. So it's that simple. They're rigging the vote in the electronic states. Nobody's taken the time to get the numbers independently, which is through exit polling and videographic evidence. I did it in the caucus. I'm a stranger. I'm not from Missouri. I've got the total audience on my tape. I've got the count from both the Ron Paul office and a separate count from an independent Ron Paul Green grassroots guy. I've got a count of 380 from the Ron Paul people and a count of 430 from the other guy. I've got evidence, court verifiable evidence. If they would have tried to defraud Paul by saying you don't have the supporters, Santorum's got 300, you have 200, they wouldn't. They were in fear.
Yeah.
They didn't. So you just let them get away with it. Rothschild's a chicken. If you start proving, God's my witness. You start proving, but who wants to do it? I would do it. I'm going to be in Europe. I would be the first one to go to and take a team of 20 guys to the precincts in Connecticut, in Delaware, in whatever's upcoming, in North Carolina, and I would teach them, train them the day before. And if they give them $50 if they couldn't, whatever. But just do it.
I agree with you. It would take a few to do, and if you have the right concept, we're a nation of chickens, though. We're a nation of people that won't rise up and do what we want to do. Just a few. Well, I need to take another break here, real quick. Actually, I'm in Oklahoma, and in the subdivision where I live, there's got to be 4 or 5 SUVs with Ron Paul's picture and his name and everything. How they emboss it on.
Yeah. Did you see any other cars for Santorum or Romney so embossed?
No, absolutely not. It's all over the place, and loads of little posters and stuff everywhere, all for Ron Paul, up until about 3 weeks ago, and then now the other ones are coming out. But it's real big. Let me take a quick break here, and we'll be right back.
Get all of the Bible prophecy news headlines every day in one place at BeastWatchNews.com. Watch the nations amass against Israel and the fall of Mystery Babylon simply by reading the headlines. Beastwatch News is formatted so you can quickly stay informed. Newshounds can click on the links for even more details. And don't forget to subscribe so Beastwatch News can be delivered right to your inbox. BeastWatchNews.com. Every day except Shabbat. Come to Zion Ministries, right from the heart of Israel. When you come to Israel, you come to Zion. You can find them at ctz.org.il.
Yeah, they're the posters are everywhere. It's very noticeable. But in Oklahoma, for years, every election that he runs, it's very noticeable here. So I just don't even have a question about that. So real quick, let me give out the guest call-in number. If you want to call to ask Dr. Ingram a question, the phone number is 718-506-1536. That's 718-506-1536. Fairley, you had a question for Dr. Ingram, Mr. Fairley?
Yes, Dr. Ingram, I started reading your book. I got about halfway through it. And one of the things I had noticed,
Rigged?
Yes, sorry, rigged.
That's okay.
Sorry. And one of the things I had noticed was that Dr. Paul had really had almost zero media exposure. And so I thought I would ask, a family member a question, why do you think that is? And or what she thought of Dr. Paul, and her impression was, well, he's not electable. And I suppose my kind of question is, the issue I often have, whether it's health or in this case corruption, is that people are just asleep and they don't ask the right questions, or they don't think critically about what's playing out in front of them, like what's playing out with Dr. Paul.
Yeah.
So I suppose my question is, if you have any kind of
counter to that or something.
Yeah, or some way of helping to. How do you go about?
Well, first of all, I work hard on finding the people who are awake, but just a numbers game, like selling a refrigerator. So you just keep talking and talking and talking, and when you find an open-minded, nice person, they seem to always be willing to listen to anything, and to the Dr. Paul message especially. But for people like that come up with these woozy-toozies and these real curveballs, you can still deal on it. That one. Then he's not electable, but yet Gingrich is now talking about the gold standard. He never said a word before, and Gingrich is electable. And Santorum is talking about getting rid of the Department of Education, even though he's a stooge for the Department of Education. You may not want to use that word. So he's always pro-Department of Education. Well, Paul has always told us to dissolve it, but Santorum's electable. And Santorum is now talking about, financial regeneration in the Fed, although he's been an asset to the Fed. But when he talks about it, he's electable. And when Romney talks about getting rid of Obamacare, which Paul has been saying for years, even though Romney created Obamacare, he's electable. So what kind of hypocrisy are we dealing with here? So that's one thing. The other thing is, yes, well then why does Dr. Paul poll better than Romney by far consistently as the opponent to Obama? In other words, Paul scores the highest on the national polls. Who would do best against Obama? Ask him questions.
Interesting. I had not heard that, but I don't doubt it at all. I just don't doubt that one at all.
It's in my book, Rigged, that counter-argument that you say, there's a whole chapter called Unelectable, you say, where I put the counter-contrast, where they praise Gingrich for the gold standard, and it's Paul's deal. They praise Santorum for the Department of Education position, but yet he extorted money from the Department of Education.
Yeah. Susan Hooge from Canada has some pertinent questions there. She's wondering about the way America does their elections, but she's got a couple of questions that kind of apply there. Go ahead, Susan.
Okay. Dr. Ingram, you've been discussing the voting rigging process that's taking place in the United States. Could that rigging actually permeate into more world organizations such as the United Nations, since that is based in New York City?
Well, the United Nations was created by the trillionaire cabal of the Rothschild family and then the Oppenheimer people, as well as the Rothschilds, as well as the Rockefellers. And so the United Nations specializes in setting up vote rigging apparati at international facilities. Then they put monitors to make sure that the rigging is established under the guise of protecting democracy. They are thorough about attempting to get in electronic machines as frequently as possible to dissolve paper ballot voting. They're just one leg of it, and same group, same consequences. Regime candidates.
So basically, this whole process is actually becoming a worldwide phenomenon.
Oh, totally. I mean, Canada seems to have been exempted to some degree, Switzerland and Iran. Those are the three that have relied primarily on verifiable paper ballots. Mm-hmm. That's quite an interesting statement, isn't it? That Iran, the independent observers in Islamic Iran said that the vote system in Iran is considerably more democratic than the United States.
That's very interesting. You'd almost immediately figure that whoever they want in office, do they have in office, that's who's going to be in there. It wouldn't have anything to do. Of course, I guess they do know they're...
Well, that's what Fox News would have you believe. And Fox News is a war associate, and also Rupert Murdoch has his private agenda, since he's put in power by the Oppenheimer cabal, and the Oppenheimer cabal is close associate with the Rothschild family and the maintainer of the Israeli area. And now the other thing you must know is that these people are multi-billionaires and trillionaires, so they feel that they can do whatever they want.
Sure.
I say the wild card is the American activist, and if enough of us get sick and tired of it, then watch out.
Well,
we'll
I would have to venture to say that the Canadians are just way too laid back to rig anything. Beauty, eh?
Well, that might be it. I don't know what happened to Canada, but they stayed with this paper ballot system, and God bless them for that, I guess. I don't know. There may be some rigging behind the scenes, but it's far more transparent than what we've got.
I'll tell you something right now, Dr. Ingram. We are having a huge controversy with robocalls. And apparently it has now been coming out, and it's in Parliament at this moment, where the opposition party actually contracted an American robocall company to phone specific targeted people on the elections list, who would go to their polling station and vote. They were phoning these people directly and telling them that their voting station had been moved, when in fact it had
some
not
American
been moved.
Shenanigans now in Canada.
It is now starting, yes, and that's even with paper ballots.
Okay, so my hope is that the Canadians will shut that one down.
Oh, I tell you, we're normally a very polite people, but this one's got a lot of people up in arms.
I love the Canadian fighting spirit, I must say. We need a little bit more of that. They're not as docile as you might think. When they find the American imperialists trying to take them down, they tend to fight back.
Well, you just have to look at all the history of Canadian forces that fought in World War II, and how most of them were very difficult to defeat.
Yeah, that's true.
You guys were in the war?
Well, they drag them into every war, that's for sure.
I didn't know they had an army or anything up there.
Well,
yes, we do.
Be careful. You might be talking to another secret Canadian. You never know.
They're good musicians, I know that, but that's about all I know.
But let me just say that this is really ridiculous. Our neighbors are doing paper ballots. This is the United States. This is enough. Enough of these Israeli billionaires and these other characters telling us how it's going to come down. Why don't we just figure it out ourselves? If we want Romney, then let's have Romney, but let's confirm that we voted for Romney and Romney didn't steal anymore. If we want Paul, then fine. Then let not his votes be stolen any longer. There are no primaries today. There's plenty of time. Right. I mean, I don't know if I hate to say this, but from what I've seen, our Creator can inspire one human. I don't know who it is, and that human could change the world.
Right.
Maybe it's 3 humans. Maybe it's whatever.
He is Dr. Cass, and he's going to be called the Anti-Messiah, and he'll be coming very shortly.
Can we put enough oregano on them? Maybe they'll
go
away.
You know what you need to do is not give them the oregano, and just take it yourself and just give it to the good guys.
There you go.
I mean, this is really, it goes back to, said the will of God being done, and it all goes back to the sins of the world are finally reaching the heaven in the nostrils of the Almighty, and He's given His country exactly what we're going to get shortly, which is 4 more years of Obama and further tyranny. And I mean, we can go and do what you're saying, but at the end of the day, I think that time spent will be better served with your family and holding them close to you, because you can do all that, but the will of God's going to be done, and I think it's already been written down.
Think God wills more tyranny?
I think He wills what the people deserve and what we're asking for, and I think this nation as a whole is asking for that. They don't realize what they're asking for.
Well, that'd be fine if they were asking. All I'm saying is that they're not necessarily entirely asking for it. Those who are asking for a war against tyranny are being disenfranchised. So they're not. When I went to the Missouri caucus, I saw 430 to 450 youth, and some of us that were in the 50 era, stand tall against the regime. And there were only 300 for Santorum.
Wow.
So, yes, 300 want the war and assassinating, mongering Santorum. Yes, that concern, it doesn't just concern us. Yes, that is a trend. Yes, he calls for immediate invasion. But I don't think it's the majority. When I walk the streets and I talk to people, the majority of Americans are not going that way.
I agree.
And it's confusing because you see this starchy, may I say, fundamentalist group who buy into this rapture and who buy into this thing about Armageddon.
Right.
And you think that that's the way the country's going because that's the way the media is going. But we have to understand something. Some of this is not God's will because of the people. Some of it is manipulation. Mm-hmm. Look, there's this thing called Islamophobia. It's not real. It's created. There was a woman 2 or 3 days ago. It wasn't written up in our newspapers. A couple of thugs went in and beat her to death. She's a mother of 5, and they left a note saying, "You're a terrorist. Get out of our country. You go home." How could she go? She went home to God. She got out of Iraq in 1990, and she's lived happily and with a big smile on her face in this country of freedom. And Islamophobia led to her death.
I agree. I'm with you. I agree. I really do. It's the same thing going on with this. What is it? This young black kid, Trayvon. I'm sorry, I don't know his last name, but
yeah.
I mean, it's just we are just saturated with something that there were only 2 people there when this actual thing happened, and yet it was on the phone to 911. The whole thing was recorded. They have loads of evidence, but yet nobody really wants to wait and hear exactly what the evidence is. They want to predetermine that this one guy was wrong.
Yeah, exactly. They don't want the evidence.
Ridiculous.
Yeah. Mark, I think it was 2 days ago, 3 young black men entered into the Mississippi University dormitory and got through 3 layers of security, and they gunned down a white man. Have you heard anything about that? No, you haven't. That's because our media is controlled. We all know this, so it's like but they're going to beat the drum on this so much about this guy, but we're not going to hear nothing about the racial issue on the other end of it of 3 black men killing a white guy at Mississippi.
Yeah, it's all controlled and contrived, but in that process, the modus operandi is created for tyranny, as you mentioned, and even the removal of freedoms. So, and when you look at the controlling force, you see that they do attempt to demonize entire people, and that's why I'm saying that some of this is is completely contrived. You've got a guy like Dr. Paul coming in saying each person has a right to their own liberties, that the Constitution is the rule of law in our country, and that we can no longer exculpate that. So that's where we start. We start with the person who they don't want to be in power. And that gets me excited to say, you know what? We're not going to just stand by.
I'm with you. It's usually the one they don't want. And I need to go to another quick break, and then we'll come back and maybe switch it over to everybody's wanting to talk more about the oregano oil, which is real good. Dr. Ingram, you have said some absolutely incredible things that really caused me to think. One last thing that I think is very interesting in what we're seeing here is how much emphasis is put on electing somebody, a Republican that will beat Hussein Obama, instead of actually finding someone that is worthy to be in the office. It's more important to find somebody to beat the man than to get somebody worthy.
Yeah, that's to rig the vote away from Paul because of the idea that Romney's the one or Santorum's the one, because the media make them appear to be the one.
Sure. I agree. All right, let's go to a quick break, and we'll be right back.
What do you have in common with rat and roach poison, Prozac, nerve gas, hypnotic and psychiatric drugs, Nazi Germany ghetto and Auschwitz camps, MK Ultra mind control programs, and cost-effective lobotomies, which dumb down the mass of society, making them complacent and immoral and lowering children's IQs? Did you know your participation in this happens when you brush your teeth, use mouthwash, or when you drink water, including coffee, tea, soda, fruit juices, canned soups, black and red tea leaves, and other drinks? Are you participating in drinking unpurified water, which is included in your food products, which contain chlorine and fluoride? Participation by ingesting or even taking a bath or shower with this toxic poison fluoride is known to contribute to thyroid dysfunction, osteoporosis, and cancer. Did you know fluoride was introduced using Nazi war criminal scientists who had done experiments on the Jews during World War II and were given refuge in this country? Stop participating in this and purify your water. Water is symbolic of the Ruach, the Holy Spirit, and we need it to have life and plenty of it. Start with helping to reduce the amount of fluoride and chlorine, which is known to inhibit thyroid function and contribute to many other health issues, by investing in a Dalton water purification system. For more information, go to messianicdirectory.info.
Okay, now nobody is going to say I'm wrong in using that one as a transition from what we've been talking about to oregano oil. I couldn't have planned it any better. So what do you think? A commercial on a water filter to get rid of fluoride. That's not too bad. All right, guys, let's switch it over. And I thought the idea of what he had talked about, though, way back when Pharaoh and all that, and the oregano oil and the rigging of elections and that type of thing, kind of played in. I would have never believed that you could tie oregano oil to the rigging of elections, but Dr. Ingram, that was quite incredible.
Well, I've seen suppression of natural medicine extensively by any regime candidate, not just the Bush family, which is with its obvious ties to pharmaceutical houses. Bush Sr. being on the board of Eli Lilly, being very closely associated with the president and CEO there, and making special arrangements for vaccine damage so that Eli Lilly and Merck were not held liable. And, well, that's a whole long story, too. But to Obama, with his close ties to socialized medicine and to the insurance cartel in Chicago and in Omaha and so on, how he's been an agent for the pharmaceutical industrial complex, and how he has. And there's just another interesting point. Barack, that's Hebrew. Hussein, that's Arabic. Obama. A lot of people are confused. I see people on the street, usually truck drivers. I mean truck driver, but people who want to believe this way. I've run into 2 or 3 people who absolutely insist, we're going to get that Muslim out of the White House. Well, you know, why believe in a fable? I mean, you're talking about a person who has gleefully assassinated people in those countries, in the Islamic countries, and who is presiding over the drone assassination program. So don't be confused. Just know that all the presidents of recent time are not Muslim presidents or Jewish presidents or Christian presidents. They have been put in power by the Council of Foreign Relations. Just at least know your facts before you speculate. The Council of Foreign Relations put Obama in power. His chief agent in elections is Zbigniew Brzezinski, who was the former head of this Council of Foreign Relations. The Council of Foreign Relations put Bush in power, and Cheney being the real president at the time. That same council put Mr. Clinton in power. Just know your facts, that's all. Now, to the oregano oil, you have to stay strong to talk about this stuff. Oregano oil was approached by the George Bush family through Dick Cheney. Dick Cheney put a call in to a sales rep that I was associated with, and he said, I want all the oregano oil in the world. I want a 50,000-gallon tanker car full of it. It's great Yankee Doodle Dandy ingenuity, and I want it.
No way, really?
Mm-hmm. I talked about it on the air, and somebody posted it on the internet of Cheney trying to take control of oil of oregano to shut it down or for profiteering. And about a year later, the company that made the product got attacked by the FTC relentlessly, which said its goal was to disgorge the company. This is North American Herb and Spice. They went after them and said they're going to disgorge the company of all of its assets and bankrupt it. Honest to God truth, you can see the pleading on the internet where the FTC says that they did deceptive things and fined them $2.5 million. Now let me tell you something else. See how it's all connected. According to a very close associate of mine who's an FTC attorney, who was at the party after they got the $2.5 million, because the company fought it and then they just gave up and paid the bribe so they could go on. Although I understand the president of the company would not sign the document, the attorneys had to stamp her name on it because she was so opposed. He said at the party, some top wigs in Washington came up to him and said, can you believe that North American Herb and Spice could come up with the money that quickly? Can you believe that? We thought we had them. And they were gloating in it. That was in D.C. So when I tell you oregano oil is a very important subject, I guess I'm telling you.
Well, we don't doubt it at all. As a matter of fact, it's just been lately that I've learned anything about it, and once I hear it, then now everybody already knows, and I've never heard anything. So my wife has bought it, and we use it. It's a
threat, my friend, because it eliminates antibiotics. You don't ever need an antibiotic if you've got a bottle of this stuff around.
Well, I know. As a matter of fact, one of the first things you said that I heard on the interview with Dr. Span is that it is a cure for the common cold. My gosh, you know how many people have said that in the past, and people laugh at them, but they're out of the mouth of 2 or 3 witnesses, let everything be established, and that's what I'm hearing from everybody.
Everybody around you knows that. And if you talk to enough of your friends that are taking the oil, then they don't get sick. They don't get viruses. They don't get fungus. They don't get MRSA. They can go in and out of a hospital without catching. They don't have breathing. They don't have asthma. They don't have bronchitis. They don't get that stuff. They don't get pneumonia. They don't get colds and flu. I guess you'd call that a cure. I'm not speaking for the company. I don't want to see them get attacked again. Who knows what will happen to those poor people. But I'm speaking for myself, the author of The Cures in the Cupboard.
Sure. I'm understanding. April, she's begging me to come on, April.
I'm really excited about this. I work in an herb shop, and we sell oregano there. And we just have a lot of really wonderful stories about people that have had it for bronchitis, pneumonia, you name it. The doctors, they'd been in and out of the doctors and couldn't get any results with. But my question for you, I live in the South, and candidiasis is huge here because of the poor diet that people consume here. I'd like to just hear your thoughts about treating candidiasis with oregano.
Well, that would be wonderful. It's a deep-seated infection, especially if people have had multiple antibiotics, and it's hunkered down in the gut and the pancreas, the bloodstream, bone marrow. It can go in the brain, liver. So usually what I tell people is, if you're going to do this oregano, you're going to do hopefully the juice, maybe the whole crude herb, maybe that triage. Stay the course for 90 days. We found in research in Georgetown University that in mice, it took, if you attack the candida for 8 days, it regrows with the oregano. Right. If you attack it for 30 days, it dies precipitously and it stays out, especially if you give a maintenance dose of a small amount every day, every other day. So and in humans, therefore, not mice, we expect 30 to 120 days of daily use of this oil. I like to back up with a bit of juice and this Oregamax with the garlic, oregano, onion, and all that, and oregano.
Right.
And then I get the results. If you take a healthy bacteria, April, at night, then that helps because you're killing the oregano and then you're killing everything, you put it back in. Yeah.
So take the oregano and then follow it up with a probiotic in the evening?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, one other quick question. What about treating Lyme's disease? Because that is actually becoming a really big thing here, although the doctors are denying it.
Well, it's going to be bad this year. It's a very opportune. The warm weather, ticks are already completely going berserk in Missouri. Where's your herb shop? What's the name of that?
It's called The Herb Shop, and it's on 20 Highland Drive in Noonan, Georgia.
Okay, in Noonan, Georgia. Well, yeah, you're in a hotbed of potential ticks there. If it's the juice of oregano that's anti-Lyme.
Okay.
That's the kingpin. And there's another one, it's called Oregaresp. If you can take 2 of those twice a day and a shot glass of juice twice a day, wipe it out.
Wow.
A bit of oil under the tongue, perhaps. Scrubbing the feet, the shins, the top of the thighs, the spine with the oregano oil. That's how you get rid of it.
Hey, Mark, it sounds like a spot for a pest control commercial here, talking about ticks and stuff.
I'm
Just
with
about.
Oregorest sounds like something you definitely want to do on Sabbath.
Well, I wouldn't think
agree.
That'd be a bad idea. And but all is it going to? It's going to actually arrest the germs. So if you want to do that, maybe while you're resting.
Well, all jokes aside, we had an employee that had a bronchitis so bad, and she had been to doctors, they couldn't even get rid of it with antibiotics, and the oregano cured it. So, we have all kinds of testimonies.
You know why? That's because bronchitis is a fungus.
Right. Wow.
And so the antibiotics, nothing, make it worse.
That's right. Oh, this is wonderful.
Dr. Cass, where's your practice located? I mean, where are you at in the States?
Well, I got run out of practice by the feds. And so
I was leading into that. I was leading into how are you able to do all this and still practice? I'm thinking I don't think it's possible in this country.
No, and I've been working for 4 or 5 years to get the license back after they undermined me, and I've got the best lawyer in the world, but they keep, every time I get close to getting my license back, they bring in one of their stooges to deny it.
Are you familiar with Dr. Max Gershom?
Oh yeah, he died under some suspicious circumstances, didn't he?
I think he was poisoned, wasn't he?
I believe he was. Was it arsenic or something? Maybe fluoride.
Yeah, he's poisoned twice, and he bounced back from the first one, and then he was poisoned again.
Yeah. Well, and that leads back to Rockefeller.
Sure.
But bottom line is that obviously natural medicine is a threat to the regime. You've got a wonderful guy by the name of Dr. Ron Paul who says that we should be allowed to say what the herbs do, as long as it's honest. And so a lot of people say, well, I don't agree with the foreign policy. I'm saying, what foreign policy do you perceive? And of course, there's never an answer. Well, he wants to get rid of the military. Well, what can I do with such a person? But my point is that sometimes people get excited about the fact that with a Dr. Paul, you get raw milk with interstate transport. You get to know what the herb does. So if turmeric knocks out inflammation, you get to know that. Oil of oregano kills the cold virus. You could put that on the label. It kills the flu virus. You put that on. Then people would know what to do with this stuff. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah.
It would be wonderful.
You know what I'm hearing here when I found out what you just said about your licenses, in the same way, when they don't want us to have certain people for a president, maybe it's the same thing when they don't want us listen to certain doctors and that type of thing. I think I'd rather listen to you than I would probably any other doctor that's in some kind of healthcare facility.
It's the same. It's, I was the first one to come out against hydrogenated oils in an effective way. And so the hydrogenated oil guy heard me on the radio. He started working against me. I came out against the wine industry. I said, okay, you can call wine whatever you want, but it's not a health food. It causes too many accidents, alcohol. It causes too many damages to the gallbladder and the liver, too much damage to the stomach. So while you're thinning your blood, you get to thin your heart muscle, thin the gut, thin the stomach, and thin out the liver. I don't think that's a good concept. So they came after me. And the sugar industry started following me around. Lo and behold, all of a sudden I got attacked for my medical license. I didn't do anything. They sent a private detective posing as a patient. Wow. And what I found was they started canceling all my lectures. And one lady who I was lecturing for sent me the faxes that she got a hold of from the food processing industry about how to kill the message of Dr. Cass Ingram. And they had me named in there, and they had the agenda of what they were going to do. I've since, unfortunately, lost those in moving. But so it's what you said. It's the messenger that they're trying to kill, or the message, basically.
Well, let me encourage you by saying that I have been, ever since we solidified at the end of the last week that you were going to be on, I have flooded the market with a message that you were going to be on, and every response has been overwhelmingly positive. Very well known out there, and everybody is very positive towards you.
Well, the thing is that I'm an osteopathic physician, and I use my hands to heal people, and I've helped people, and now I help them for free. And I can look at a person. I can tell what's out of balance. I can tell what's deficient. I can even tell which hormone gland which is down. I can sometimes sense serious disease. A lot of times I'll get it straight on, even though they've just had the echocardiogram or the EKG or the CAT scan. And that's a skill and a talent they denied to people on a one-on-one now for 15 years since they, crushed that part of my life. And I just thought the other day, my hands are so valuable to the people. I mean, people with all kinds of problems in one treatment, I got them, it's a gift. I got them fixed up, you see, and so, but they keep fighting me. I'm not going to win. I'm going to win this one. It's just a matter of time.
So how do you go about making your living? Your lectures and whatnot and speaking engagements?
I make a very modest living. I have really good friends that take care of me. And, that's how it does it. And
is there any kind of a support or donation button on your website to help you out with those things like that?
If you want to donate, God bless your souls, you donate to Dr. Paul, and also to the super brochure drives that are on the Daily Paul, and get his message out to more people. I'm full-time Dr. Paul because I see this as a sliver of hope for us, and so that's how you give the money. Yeah, well, I'm being taken care of.
Susan, you've got 14 questions here. So come on in and ask any one of 3 of them.
Oh, okay. I think this one would have more overall meaning or whatnot. But Dr. Ingram, in regards to taking oregano oil, sometimes there are side effects with that. You know, if you're doing it as a cleanse or whatever, and you can get headaches and dizziness, etc. and stuff. What's the best way to deal with that?
Yeah, your best version is this blue label stuff, which the side effects are less because that's coming from the mountains of Turkey and it's high elevation, very clean. Some of the lesser oregano oils seem to cause more towards the upset stomachs and the headaches, which you don't tend to get with this P73 material. That helps. But there are certain things about oregano. Once in a while, if you kill all the some of the noxious bacteria, that toxin can come out and you can feel a little bit fluish for a day or two. It happens, but rare. Once in a while, you can get a little achy when the toxins come out. Also rare.
But that's a good thing, though.
Huh?
But that would be a good thing, though, if you're experiencing those kind of side effects. That would be an indicator that, yes, it's really working.
That's a very positive thing because we don't have much immune system. We don't seem to get the fevers and the chills and the aches. Our immune systems are so suppressed. The other thing we do see with oregano, and no one can quite explain it, is that somebody could get a rising in blood pressure. It's usually transient. And the way I've told people that get that is I say, take your oregano with a full meal instead of on an empty stomach. Take it right in the middle of the meal, and that seems to prevent that Oregano is very strong for the heart. It's good for the heart. It makes the heart pump. And when it makes it pump aggressively, sometimes you'll see this rise. But that's all. There's no other side effect. It's not toxic. Fortunately, even though it's strong, it has zero toxicity to the liver.
So sorry, Mark, I just wanted to ask about fluoride. Would it help to flush the fluoride out of our system?
Well, nobody's ever proven that, but it's a great antioxidant. It raises the glutathione levels. That protects the cell membrane. To flush fluoride out, I use something called the purge. It's called the total body purge. It's kind of a wild muck from the far north of Canada with some oils, and we tell people to take an ounce a day for a month to blow everything out, parasites, flukes, heavy metals, just, clean it all out, pesticides and stuff like that. But
what is it called?
Total body purge. You take the purge liquid and the purge capsules, take a few drops of oregano oil, maybe some juice of oregano. That would be my fluoride. Fluoride's very difficult, isn't it, after all? It's a tiny molecule. It gets trapped, into the bone and teeth and all that.
I just can't do without my Aquafresh. I don't know what to do.
Yeah, you can get rid of that real quick.
April has come up with a few recipes for us.
What, oregano-based?
No, for toothpaste. I don't know, not oregano-based, is it, April?
Well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you get some baking soda, put a couple drops of this P73 in there, or this Oregadent, and just use that with a little ground-up sea salt. Why not?
That would be great. That sounds really good.
Okay. Fairly, you got 14 questions. I'll let you do 3.
Okay. Well, the first one is quite simple. How much can one take of the oregano oil in one go? What's the max dosage?
I've taken up to 60, 80 drops all at once, and I've done say 20 or 40 drops all at once every half hour if I need to. I had a tick attached to me, and I took probably 40, 80 drops every half hour and drank the juice of oregano at 12 ounces a day for 3 days because my arm went paralyzed from the tick. The tick was lodged behind my ear. And, in 96 hours, I was fine. So, or if somebody had a fulminant flu and they had to bomb it with 20 to 40 drops of this P73 because that's the edible kind, then fine. And then when you're done, you go back to a drop or two a day or something.
So you say P73. Now this is something that I can buy in a health food store?
Health food store or internet.
Okay.
And that's the edible kind that we cannot preach these high doses. The reason I'm bringing up a brand is we cannot do these doses with the off brands because about half the off brands are genetically engineered. They're engineering oregano to have a high carvocrol. They're injecting the stalks with bacteria to force the carvocrol, and they're growing the oregano artificially from artificial seed. And so that GMO, yeah.
I also wanted to know if you feel it would be beneficial for cancer patients.
We had a case of a person who was an indigent and was being left on the curb, essentially at the hospice, to die. And she had no money. So I sent down a gallon of juice of oregano. I know the juice in Turkey, they use it in Greece for cancer. She came back a month and a half later with a CAT scan. She had a grapefruit-sized tumor in her stomach. Well, an orange-sized tumor. And it was gone. There was just a little round piece of scar tissue. It ate it out. I had a lady call me, and I know you're not supposed to talk about cancer and all that, but I'll just speak from my point of view as a health freedom doctor, not associated with company or P73 or anybody like that. So I disassociate with the brand and this for the sake of, truth. There was this woman called me up. She took this oregano oil, this edible oregano oil, about 20 drops twice a day, and gave it to her husband with tongue cancer. She left me a message that it was dissolved. I don't know, but I do get the occasional report.
Yeah. Looks like probably not a bad idea then, in other words.
Well, oregano, remember I said it raises the glutathione levels, it pumps up the immune system, it's a potent antioxidant, and, it's killing fungus. Remember that work by the Italian doctors all over the internet where they're finding inside the tumor candida? Mm-hmm. So if you kill its supply, which is the fungus, what happens to the cancer? It just dies.
And then my final question.
Fairly, wait, before you get to your final question there,
yeah.
How is Jennifer doing, from what I understand? Dr. Ingram, let me explain. Fairley's wife here has just gone through about 4 years of with cancer. As a matter of fact, a couple of months ago, she was, we were about ready to lose her, and she has come back. And I think she's pretty well over it now.
Well, do we have a history of what, is it an estrogen dominant thing, or is it some other unknown, or?
Do you mean what kind of cancer she has?
Well, or? That and why she has it.
Well, it's a lymphoma, and her dad had she has I think it's non-Hodgkin's, and he had Hodgkin's lymphoma.
Is she over 40?
No, she's younger than 40.
She's younger, okay.
Yeah.
The suspicion in her case is vaccine virus. That's the first potential risk.
Yeah.
Did she get all the standard vaccines?
I believe she did, yeah. That's one of the things we'd been working with a doctor who was working with pulling a lot of that out of her.
You have to purge that out of her. That's the bottom line.
Yeah, that's one thing.
That's the oregano. That's the kingpin. Right. That's the juice of oregano, the oil. All of the different wild oreganos, but at least the juice and the oil. The chaga, wild chaga, which I've written an entire book on. I should send you this. The Cure is in the Forest. Chaga drops, something called Chaga Max capsules.
Yeah, I think I've seen that.
Yeah. Those Chaga Max capsules would be supremely brilliant to take along with the oregano and the juice of oregano.
Okay.
And here's the secret to cancer. If you destroy every trace of candida and fungus in the bloodstream and all the vaccine viruses. It should just die off.
Right. And I suppose the thing like he said, I've been dealing with it for 3-4 years, and we did actually try to get rid of it the natural way, without chemotherapy. And the thing that can be difficult is there's so much information out there.
It's very confusing.
And it's hard to decide.
You can't do it unless you know exactly what's causing it. If it's a lymphoma from vaccine virus, then you have to kill the virus. So even if you give turmeric and you give this herb or mistletoe or whatever, if you're not killing the vaccine virus, you can't stop the oncogene site from inducing tumors. So that's what has to be done. I had a guy who had, 18 lymph nodes in his neck. I put him on the big dose, this 20 drops, 4 or 5 times a day, the juice of oregano, like water. Juice of rosemary might be a good adjunct. It's highly anti-tumor. And the lymph nodes, this was lymphomas, non-Hodgkin's, it went away. I don't know if the guy stuck with it. I saw him about 4 months later, and they had gone completely undetectable, almost completely undetectable, about 90% reduction. Anyway, so kill the fungus, kill the viruses, clean out the body, purge out the heavy metals. That's the standard.
Well,
if you have worms unaddressed can lead to lymphoma too.
Right. Yeah. So I suppose the main thing I was going to ask about is diet. There's so much information out there about diet. There's people who say, well, the best diet is a vegan raw diet, and then there's people who say, well, a vegetarian diet. It's hard to know what
Semi-vegetarian's a bit safer than vegan because vegan can be done as a clean out for 90 days, but long term then the tissues can become weak, and that's not good either. It's better to just load up on the oregano and some of these other things, the chaga, and just tons and tons of oregano, juice of rosemary, also lots of oil, and some of the other things I talk about in the book, like these chaga max capsules would be unprecedented for her. Okay. And then not worry too much about the diet, where you could, while avoiding red meat because the iron is carcinogenic in some people, and avoiding poultry. Poultry has a carcinogen.
Poultry, even organic poultry.
Yeah, chicken especially. Chicken is carcinogenic. In the midst of a cancer, it should be avoided.
Wow.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe you could get some local fish, but then the fish could be radioactive. It's really not easy. So sprouts, perhaps some sprouted grain. Maybe what do we do now? Do we eat cottage cheese, or is it radioactive from Fukushima? It's not.
That's the thing. It's hard.
So I would hit the supplements hard and not worry so much about the diet. Do your best.
Okay.
Maybe vegan with some protein from somewhere. That's a possibility, but not all raw. If he wants a little bit of something steamed now and then, that's not going to hurt anything.
Okay.
Well, I was very thrilled to hear you say, treat what, where is it coming from? Because I get so tired of sometimes when I get something, like I've had these little things on my legs or whatever, get a sore throat or something, and everybody and their grandmother comes out of the woodwork with 14,000 different remedies of what to do for what it is, for whatever your problem is, and these days everybody's got their own stinking little remedy.
I know.
It's like, if I took all of them, I'd be dead.
Well, that's it. And then there's some of it doesn't, like colloidal silver. It's still silver. It's still a heavy metal. I occasionally get people who develop kidney stones from it. I never prescribe it, except if that's the only thing available. There's a science to this. There's a procedure to it. And you poor souls out there, you get hit with everything, and most people don't know what to do. So generally what I do is I take the tough cases, I put them on a program, I know what's missing, I know what the cause is when dealing with them. That's really hard to, it's very difficult for you to find that kind of access. But it's very true. If I told everybody to eat a lot of milk products, and yet the number one source of danger from Fukushima is milk.
Okay.
Because Fukushima has spread these radioactive flecks systematically all over the globe, and the milk in California is radioactive. Where do we get our milk from in the United States? 80% of it doesn't come from Wisconsin. It comes from the big, huge California dairies.
Mm.
So it's like that.
Well, very interesting. Dr. Ingram, you've been here longer than your hour and a half that you said that you had.
Okay.
And
I've written a book you should know called Natural Cures for Radiation. I want to just tell you one more thing.
Oh, it's okay.
I hate to add to the burden. How's it?
Another 20 minutes, but I just, do you want to stay for another 20 minutes? Or do you
I can stay for another 10 minutes, you betcha.
Okay, let me do another real quick break, and we will come right back. Right back. We're talking to Dr. Cass Ingram. Go ahead, Dr. Ingram. You would.
Well, I'm going to be the messenger and tell the warning that our food is radioactive, and it's the milk is the highest risk. I've just talked to some Californians that they're still getting reports that the milk is radioactive. Fukushima, it's all covered in my book, Natural Cures for Radiation. You must read it. It's going to be the survival of the most intelligent, the most shrewd now. There have been 15,000 additional deaths in the United States from Fukushima from March through about July of 2011. Those deaths have occurred in stillbirths and infant mortality and in the vulnerable and the elderly. We are seeing a dramatic increase in thyroid cysts, thyroid cancers, and thyroid adenomas, up to 10-fold increase in some areas. Those people who are exposed to rain during the Fukushima fallout when it was heaviest in March, April, May, and June have an increased risk for radiation-induced diseases. I myself am a victim of the radiation poisoning as I was in Anaheim, California on March the 18th and witnessed radioactive clouds of a pinkish-gray color with electrical bolts going back and forth. And I also had radiation dust on my car. Therefore, by the time that I got home, I couldn't walk up a flight of steps. I was so tired, which is unprecedented for me. I cleaned myself out and brought most of my health back. It's an unbelievable situation. Fukushima is equal to, in my estimation, about 100 Chernobyls, and it has completely contaminated everything. Don't forget, these were spent fuel pools. Not just the reactors blew up, but 40 years of spent fuel went into the air.
Amazing. I guess I'm just not that aware of it. Wow.
Well, it's radiation flecks, isn't it? These reactors blew up. You can go to YouTube and see them blowing up. And these are ceramic rods. They're ceramic-coated plutonium and uranium. It just blows up into teeny particles. And so that's the danger. If you're sitting there in Fukushima, that's one thing. The problem is if you eat Fukushima. So why are the seals bald? You saw that they washed up a couple hundred seals that lost their coat of hair. Well, they're having thyroid damage from Fukushima. They're eating Fukushima fish.
Wow.
The radiation levels, we heard from our friends in Canada on your show, the radiation levels in the Pacific Ocean at this time are 50 million times higher than they were before Fukushima. Then you have buffoons like, I don't know his name, who said that Fukushima didn't occur. It was, what was his name, Mr. Fulford? Yeah. He said that the U.S. government was trying to disguise atom bomb testing in the trench. I mean, no wonder people don't know anything. They listen to this junk.
Right. Absolutely amazing. Okay. Well, now I'm startled. Now this is quite a bit. I'm actually speechless now. I mean, there's so many things that I am so not aware of.
Well, we have to put a stop to it. This nuclear, do you know that the nuclear plants would never exist if you took the subsidies away? If it wasn't for us paying the government to put the power plants in business, they would be shuttered within the year. So it's all a racket. We're the victims. We've been sounding the alarm about nuclear power. Nobody listened. And now we have contaminants that we can't deal with. The only thing we can do is follow the book, Natural Cures for Radiation, follow my antidotes, take the Toxi-Burgi capsules, use the Detoxi Wash like I do to soak your vegetables in and your fruits. I don't know what else to tell you. But those of you who are shrewd, you will study this perhaps, and you will adopt some of my formulas. Take the chaga, take the oregano, whatever.
Right. Okay.
Okay, gentlemen.
Very good. Thank you so much. Give us your websites real quick again and how they can buy your books. So,
well, you go to healthynewsradio.com and you can see all the books, and you could go on Amazon or somebody and buy the book Natural Cures for Radiation. You can go to healthfreedom2012.com. People, and go to the blog and get the book if you want. Don't allow any apathy. Fire it up. You'll see me on YouTube soon enough campaigning on the streets. Fire, fire, fire in your engine. Get everybody on board. Get everybody to vote for the doctor. Take the next step, and let's get our freedoms established once and for all. Let's just do it.
Amen.
Okay?
Amen and amen and amen. Thank you, brother, so much.
God bless you all. I enjoyed it. Bye now.
Hear the voice of one crying in the desert. The grass withers, the flowers fade. The word of our God stands forever. Voice of one crying in the desert. The grass withers, the flowers fade, but the word of our God stands forever. So surrender. If you open your eyes and you turn from darkness to light, from darkness to light, you will be forgiven, you will be received, you will be forgiven.
on. Hallelujah. Welcome to Let Us Reason Together, the Sunday edition.
Yeah, that's right. You got that right.
Hello? 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 Is anyone here? Anyway, this is your morning wake-up call. I don't have one, but... How'd that happen?
I don't know, but I have to do my little thing here.
You gonna do your little thing?
Yeah, my thing.
What's your thing?
My thing is this.
Your thing?
Yeah.
Is that how they talk down south?
When I need the keyboard.
What do you need your thing for? Oh, your keyboard too?
Yeah.
Anyway. Hello? Okay. Oh, sorry. Drop the keyboard.
Don't drop the keyboard.
Don't drop the keyboard. We have to get Mr. Jamie in here too.
Okay, I'll get Jamie in. I guess
I
guess I'll get Jamie in. All right, Jamie, you're in. I got you in, Jamie.
You're part of the club now.
Good. That's what I've always wanted to be, part of the club.
Well, you made it. You made it.
You know, I'm telling you. It's a good thing. It's a beautiful, beautiful day. But it's always a beautiful day.
We are alert. Can I say that? We are alert. And
some more than others.
I hope some people came in alert. Good to see you, Wendy, again, and Doc Ed Stir. Woohoo! Good to see you in Maryland. Yes. Hallelujah. Yes. And everybody else, join us. Let us reason together. Yes. Come on into the encouragement room. The water's fine.
And here's some water.
And I've got look at all the drinks I have here.
I know, you get like 4 things.
The thing is, am I going to be able to finish them during the broadcast? That means less talking. What do you think, Jamie? You can refrain from answering that if you like.
I take the fifth.
I just take a fifth.
It was kind of funny because I pretty much gave up drinking, and somebody gave me a gift certificate for a bottle of for a liquor store. But it's really great because I can get some Trump wine and give it to people. So it'd be kind of, in Virginia, there's right down the street from me, not too far, there's one of Trump's properties, and it's a vineyard. So it's kind of nice. You can do that. We can do that right here in Virginia.
Well, if you wanted to go the other route too, you could always go and record a Pelosi press conference, because then you'd have Pelosi wine.
Oh, here we go. I bet you, what would we hear? What would we hear?
I don't know what we heard, but anytime you hear it, you hear whining.
The whining.
No, I thought we'd hear the goggle, goggle, goggle. I thought
we hear this goggle, goggle, goggle.
Now you might hear this though. What is this? Oh no, here it is.
Yeah. That's what I thought we might hear.
Yeah.
Oh,
you might hear that, or where is it? I have no idea where things are anymore. I don't know where it is. But you might.
You wouldn't hear "get to work." Not for
you definitely wouldn't hear that. Definitely wouldn't hear that. But
you know what you'd hear from me? Where's the scream?
Yeah. Which scream? That one?
No, that's the other one, right?
That's the Dean scream.
Yeah, I'm not the Dean scream.
Which scream? I don't have a scream.
You don't?
I don't think so.
Okay, how about oh no? Is there an oh no?
Oh, you might. Come on. Anyway, but you also you might hear. Well, anyway, it's time. It's wasting.
Jeff Allen is with us.
Is wasting.
Thank you for joining us, Jeff. You've never been here with Let Us Reason, have you? Has he been?
I think he's been with us.
No, I think you have been with us. I'm sorry, you have.
Yes. Mr.
You're alert.
Allen.
Jeff Allen is alert. Hallelujah.
I may be dating myself, but how's your brother, Steve?
Steve Allen. He passed away.
So hopefully he's doing well, but I have no idea. But it's time to wake up. Hallelujah. This is the day of wake up. Well, that's interesting. This is the day of being awoke and up. Not awoke. Not being woke. But being
alert.
Wakened.
I like alert.
Alert.
Yes.
Let us reason together.
Yes.
LURT.
Yes.
With an olive in front of it. Alert.
I think we're alert. I know one thing. Everybody that's here that was on the War Room prayers is alert right now. We had a wake up prayer time, didn't we, Jamie? Jamie's on mute. Jamie's
Yeah,
on.
I'm sorry. It was a great time. I wasn't alert. I was not alert. You got me, Abigail. You were playing with me.
So what else is new, Jamie?
You gotta be quick on those buttons.
Oh, gotta be quick. You gotta be
quick. Gotta be quick. I'm telling you. I've learned that from 40 years plus being with Abigail. You have to be quick. You have to be quick. In the early days, we don't say this anymore, but in the early days, we would always have a little fun and saying, boy, we should pray for a boring moment.
You don't say that anymore
because
it's available.
It just won't happen. It just won't happen.
It's not available.
It's not there. It's not in the dictionary. So
it's not the plan of Yahweh. Where have you ever seen anything boring happening when it comes from the throne room? Nothing. Nothing is boring.
I rest my case, Your Honor.
Well, how can you follow that? I mean, coming from the throne room, you're done.
I'm telling you. It's great to be alive
and alert.
Alive and alert.
Some people are alive, but they're not alert.
I don't know.
Some people have a pulse, but they're not alert. They just aren't.
Well, it's interesting because now you made me think of a quote by Benjamin Franklin. It says, now I gotta remember the quote. I can't remember the quote now. It was something about I have to look it up. And I don't want to say it wrong, but it was about the average American and being, people being in a rut, kind of thing. That's what it was alluding to. Because you ever you just do the same thing over and over and over again, and the routine, and that can be a good thing from a spiritual standpoint, but from a natural standpoint, if you're just doing things to do the same thing over and over and over and over again consistently, and not growing, and not you just Brian sent us a teaching, and we saw this. We didn't see this teaching before, but heard this statement before. It says, are you working to live or living to work?
Oh, that's good.
That's an interesting statement. Are you working to live or living to work?
Okay, let me tell you, when he sent that to us, it definitely got someone's attention. Because a lot of people don't, it really did, it resonated. Do people go to work to live, or are they living to go to work? To me, that is a very sobering question. And Brian asked that question, and James was wondering, is Brian, what was the point of that question? I said, James, that was a very, very significant question for everybody to think about, because a lot of people are addicted to working as opposed to going to, what do you go to work for? To make money, to live, right? I mean, you get a job and it pays the bills, right? But then you have to ask yourself, what kind of work am I doing? Am I wasting my time doing the work that I'm doing when I could be doing something more profitable? And I'm not talking money, I'm talking about for the kingdom. What do you think, Jamie?
Oh, I agree with you. This pen, can you read it?
No. But I can hear that sound.
Well, that was Danny trying to call. He forgot that I'm on the air. He wanted to make sure we know he's here.
Amen.
So what does it say on your lapel?
It says, own your own life.
There you go.
And that's exactly what he's saying is, are you working to live or living to work?
Exactly.
Because you're slaves. You become a slave unless you take possession and be set free by the Lord Jesus Christ and the Word of God.
That's and who you work. And the key is this. This is another one. Who are you working for? Are you working to serve the king, or are you working to be a king, or are you working to serve, men? It's just a very, when we got that, I said, I get it. I'm thankful he sent that, because when you start to realize how much time you spend working on a job, I did it I worked from the time I was like 14 years old. I had a job from the time I was 14, and I had to. It wasn't a choice, really, but the truth is, I believe when you have to do something like that to keep a roof over your head, or to, help. My mother was a single parent, so she worked 3 jobs. And anyhow, but to make a long story short, I worked at a young age. And the Father gave me grace to do that for that many years. For many, many years. And the truth is, I loved every job I had. I really did. I was like, woohoo, because I was I was helping my mom. And but my mother was an amazing worker anyhow. So then James and I started talking recently, and this is something for everybody, I think. You start to think about, do I have enough energy, and do I have enough time, and am I spending my time serving the king, and so that to me it seems to be the balance and the choices we make.
Amen. It's interesting because this isn't the way I heard it, but I found the quote somewhat, so this is interesting, and I understand where people might have added a few things to it when I heard it. Benjamin Franklin said, "Many people die at 25 and aren't buried until they are 75."
Yeah.
Yeah, think of that. That is a very, very interesting and profound quote.
But the key is, let's break that down. You know how I like to break things down. What do they? What have? See, I would be a good attorney. I really would. I'd be a good attorney. I'm just saying. But anyhow, if you break it down,
I object, Your Honor.
Sustained.
Overruled.
Overruled.
Oh,
okay, whatever. I don't know
she's the judge and the lawyer. You see.
Janie, you've been hanging out too much with us.
Right.
But anyhow, and I'm glad, because we're brothers and sisters. I love it. But so you have to ask yourself this question. When you work, when you're working on your job, is it fulfilling, or are you serving mammon? Sometimes you can be on the job and you can be a light there. You can be saying, I'm here, and even though it's a job, I have an opportunity also to be a light to the people that I work for, if you have the right heart. But if you're spending most of your lifetime using up that valuable energy that you have, and you're not serving the king, who are you serving then?
Got to serve somebody.
Yeah, and who are you serving?
Oh.
That's the question. Who are you serving?
That's the question.
Hey, Clint Gilbert. Yes, you would be a good attorney. Thank you, Clint. Yeah, thank you. I know I would have been. I know I would have been. Yes, I agree. I agree. But I am a lawyer. I told that to a man in Texas. I met a man in Texas. We were coming out of the restaurant during Sukkot, and this man was all dressed up in his, he was very well dressed. He had his jeans on, a nice shirt. He had his cowboy boots on. It was in Texas. And he said, howdy. And I said, howdy. And so, so I said, so, well, where are you going? He goes, I'm going to work. I'm a lawyer. I says, wow, we have something in common. I'm a lawyer too. I'm a lawyer of the Torah. I'm a lawyer of the Word of God. I'm a law keeper. And Dina Dye was with us, and her husband, and James, and their jaws dropped. They said, I love that. I never heard anybody call themselves a lawyer for guarding the commandments and keeping the Word of God.
Just to make a note of that, though, we were all about 10 feet behind her. Just in case, but we were there.
But I rightly divide the word. So there you go. But anyhow, we went on a rabbit trail.
It's a good rabbit trail. I like it. Okay.
I love hearing your father's stories, Clint. He is quite a storyteller.
Nice. That's right. Nice. He is. He's quite a blessing. Hearing him on Facebook. Enjoy him very, very much, and
see him riding his horses.
Oh my goodness.
Clint Gilbert has his father on horses. They ride horses, Jamie.
That's cool.
Yeah, they're very, very, very cool. It's very nice. Very nice.
Amen.
He's not from New York.
No, he's from I think Oklahoma, actually. I think.
Oh, cool. Well, that's where my daughter is, Clint. You have to look her up.
All right. The only horse I ever knew was Mr. Ed, but that's another story for another day.
Matter of fact, Clint, she works on 50 horses on a horse ranch, so she's busy with horses.
Oh, you're in Kansas. He's in Kansas. I'm sorry.
Kansas. Okay.
You're in Kansas. Okay. Did you get affected by that horrible tornado? Was that Kansas?
No.
Oh, that was Kentucky.
Kentucky.
Oh, that was Kentucky. That's right. That was Kentucky. Yeah.
Do you ever say, Clint, there's no place like home? There's no place like home. Do you ever say that? Just saying. Okay. Now that was a rabbit trail.
But you can pull us back because you are Mr. O'Hare.
No, but we represent the Lollipop Gang. Yes. All right. Okay, let's go. Let's go. Let's get back into track here, and we will. Clint, I don't know what goes on with my head. It's one of those medical mysteries.
Just ask the lawyer.
Yeah.
I know it, but I have to, I have to plead the fifth right now.
Yeah, I think I would. And I'm still going to have the fifth. So by the end of this show, it could be pretty entertaining. So, you think there's coffee in here? All right. Wow. Where do we go here? Where's my thing? I know it's here somewhere. Oh, there it is. All right. Well, we're going to get into some news and we're going to talk about some things.
And that's it right there, 30?
No.
No.
But
okay.
That's a countdown. We don't want a countdown.
No.
So here comes the news.
Although we may need one.
We may need a count. We need a timeout.
We need a count up.
Yeah. All right. So this would be it. Okay, that would be the countdown.
That was alert.
That was alert. That's the countdown. Just in case we need a timeout, we have it right here.
Though your skins are like scarlet, they should be white as snow, white as snow, white wool.
Even Pharaoh, when he calls Moses back, when the servants petition him and say, how long are you going to let this man be a snare for us? So it's okay. Pharaoh recalls him back, but he's still negotiating. Well, who's going out? Everybody. We're not leaving some people behind because that means we're coming back. And in case you haven't noticed, Pharaoh, we're not coming back. We're giving our notice. We're leaving. You can go rent this place out to someone else. We're gone. Go hire someone else. And Pharaoh then refuses. He's still negotiating. He still figures, and this is sometimes what people with hard hearts do with God. I mean, isn't that what Jacob did? You just wander around. Well, God, if you provide all my needs and you bring me back and blah blah blah, then you'll be my God, and then I'll give you 10%. We covered this in that chapter a number of weeks ago. That's not the way God works. You don't negotiate with God. When God says, "Let my people go," you say, "Yes, sir." If God says, "Move over here," you don't say, "Well, if you do this and you do that and you provide me with a good job and I want a good church and everything else." Abraham walked by faith. God says, "Leave the country of your fathers." That's all God told him. And Abraham said, "Okay, where am I going? I'll tell you. Just start walking and you'll figure it out along the way."
We are richly blessed to bring you what we believe is the fullest, most diverse, yet up-to-date progressive teachings, discussion, and prayer programming you can find anywhere on this planet. Be sure to take the tour of the MessianicLambRadio.com website. I'm Susan Hooge, thanking you.
Don't go away, your show will start after a brief pause.